Hey. So I think I figured out what was wrong. Let me just check some things on the stream first, and then we'll proceed. Okay, so basically, what happened is that if you install the K3S by default and install the Rancher by default, you get the latest version of the K3S, but you get somewhat older version of Rancher, and Rancher has this, let's say, compatibility matrix that basically tells you which version of Rancher matches which. Let me show you maybe. You basically have this matrix, right? And the latest version tells you that it supports the highest version 126, and this is like the version 2.7.6. By default, the get Rancher IO whatever installs Rancher 2.5, and that supports some old version of Kubernetes. Okay, so it's even PDF, but let's just say that it supports some older version. And the funniest thing is, if you install the latest version of K3S, it's not version 1.26, it's 1.27. So if you install purely with defaults, there's no way you'll get this working without specifying versions, right? So even if you have latest version of Rancher and latest version of K3S, the Rancher just doesn't support the latest version of K3S or Kubernetes. And that's a common case. I came across it, I think half a year ago when I was setting this up for the first time also. So basically what we are going to do, what I am going to do, is that I am going to once again provision the K3S and Rancher according to Chuck's tutorial, but I will specify the versions I want. And to save some time, I've already formatted my VMs. So I have blank slate VMs, and I will just skip back the Chuck's video, and we'll do everything the same, just with specifying the proper version this time, and we will see if it works.
Moment, but first let's do this. We want to do everything as the root user. So to do that, we got to become the root user, and we'll use this command, sudo su space dash. Now if you want to know more about what that means and what it does, I got a video right here or over here, yes, right here, that you can check out. Anyways, here we go, we're becoming root. I am root. Now there's one more prep thing we have to do before we can start installing Kubernetes or K3S. Again, I've got a link below where you can copy all this delicious documentation. We're going to enable IP tables, legacy IP tables.
Oh yeah, sorry. Well, this one more thing I have to do. Yep. Yep. And for now, I only have two nodes. I basically have the master node for Kubernetes and master node for Rancher. Okay.
It's what K3S is going to use. So go ahead and paste that and then do a reboot. R-E-B-O-O-T, reboot. And he's rebooting. Now that's the prep work. When he comes back up, he's ready to have Kubernetes K3s installed on him. Now what I'm going to do right now is do that times 8. I'm gonna go and do it all again. I'm not gonna make you wait, but for me it's gonna be a while, so I'll see you in probably an hour.
Oh yeah, I also wanted to check one thing on the stream settings. Yes, because supposedly you can add tags even to live stream, and I wanted to check this out. Because even the short stream I did today was, from what I saw, recommended to weird people on weird films on YouTube. Okay. And okay, I think we can continue.
Maybe longer, I don't know. So if you get a cluster like me, go ahead and configure your cluster now. Okay. Whew. Done. And isn't it beautiful? Oh my gosh. It's a long time ago, or moments ago, because I edited this. And we're going to start with our master, the first Raspberry Pi, and if you're using, and we're going to SSH into our first node, SSH dash I am root. Now to install Kubernetes K3s, it's going to be one simple command. That's really all it is. I'm telling you, it's crazy. So again, link below. I've got a guide for this. All you gotta do is copy and paste into this terminal right now. So here we go. Paste. That's all it is.
I'm actually wondering if it really did work out of the box, or is it just, you know, edited that way? Because this is where we actually have to do some work. So basically, if you get this link and you paste it in the browser, you basically get this. And if you can see that Chuck is specifying the kubeconfig mode, K3, do we even have this variable? K3s kubeconfig. So that's funny. There's not, this variable does not exist. Okay, maybe it's used somewhere later, or maybe in some other install script, but we are interested in K3 version, basically this. And we have to add this little thing to our pipeline. And in order to actually get that, we have to navigate to the GitHub of K3s, and we need to pick a release. And in this case, I think the launcher supports, the highest version it supports is 1.26. And I think we can go with that. So let's go and do just that. Let me switch my PowerShell. I'm not sure what's the proper, you know, syntax, or what's the expected version string to be like. The GitHub, or maybe, sorry, the script says that it's trying to download from the, it's from what I saw in the script, it's trying to look for the version itself. So we'll actually see how that works. I only hope that it does not install, you know, the default latest version in case it fails to find a version with this variable. Because that would basically mean I have to, god damn it, reinstall the system again. Okay, just for the sake of it, let's add the k3s kubeconfig mode. Okay. Yeah, I think we've gotten the correct version. So now if we execute kubectl version, yes, we have 126. Okay, this is something we wanted.
And in case you're wondering what's happening here, curl is going out and downloading this script, and the magic is happening in the script. The script will install K3s. And then over here, we're adding a little bit of configuration. This will allow us to import the sucker into Rancher, which I'm gonna do because it's awesome and you should do it too. But even if you aren't, leaving that config in there is no big deal. I'm gonna hit enter, and it's just gonna do its thing, man.
Yeah, and just to verify, Chuck is using the version 1.21.
Break, I'm excited. Whew! It's almost done, actually. I mean, coffee break, coffee sip, that's all we have time for. And that's it. It's done. It's done. Kubernetes or K3s is installed. Now, what do we do with that? I'll show you. Now, again, I'll tell you this. Installing Kubernetes normally is an entire task. It involves multi-node clusters and all. It's crazy. But for K3s, this is like we're done. There's a tool we're going to use. It's called kubectl or kubectl. We'll be using this a lot, so I want you to know it, memorize it.
And since we've already been here today, let me just skip a bit.
Nodes. Now, a node is a node. It's not important to installing it on the master, and token is. Or, I don't know why I have the next guy here.
Okay,
Let's do this. Open up a new.
I will skip the node addition for now, because I don't want to, you know, do much unnecessary stuff until I make sure that Rancher works.
Command. I've got a command below in the description. That's the
so yes, we are skipping this for now.
Now, before we start playing with our clusters, I do want to get Rancher set up. Again, this is optional, but I do recommend it because you get a fun way to look at your cluster and play with it, configure it, and all kinds of stuff. And it's free, open source. Anyways, to install Rancher, you will need a virtual machine. Another virtual machine apart from what you have here with your Raspberry Pis. Now, I do already have a virtual machine set up, ready to go. As far as what type of virtual machine, you'll want to do Ubuntu 1804 or version 1804. And you'll want at least 4 gigs of RAM to make the sucker work. And again, if you don't want to do this, go ahead and skip ahead. I got timestamps, but I want to do this real quick. I'm going to log into my server here. Open up a terminal, SSH into that sucker. Become root. Now, one thing we have to do before we install Rancher is set up a configuration file. So I'll start with doing this. I'm going to create a directory. The command will be mkdir for make directory, and it'll be /Rancher. And then we'll make one more directory after that. It'll be rke2. And then we'll cd into that directory. Here I'll create my file, nano config.yaml. So create a blank file with this. And just a couple things here. First, I'll say token, : space, and then a shared secret. It can be anything, like My Little Pony. Hit enter, and then type in TLS-san, : Go and drop down after that. Couple spaces, hit a tick right under the S, space, and then put in the IP address of your server here, the server we're working with right now. This will be your fixed registration address, and that's pretty much it. Control X, yes, to save, and then enter to get out of there and save the file. That's it. And just as before, the commands will be in the description below. It's very simple, done. A very simple script that'll run and install Rancher for us.
Yeah, and this is another point. Yeah, curl sfl https get rancher.io. Okay, so if we navigate to this script also, and let me pull up the browser again. Okay, so this was K3s. We can close this one. Okay, and this is our basically bash script for get-rancher.io. And here we also have install rancher version. And the proposed version is this very old 2.5. And I would say I want to try something more recent. I want to go with the 2.7.6. So let me verify. Okay, so this is by checking the, okay, so it's from GitHub. Okay, so let's actually Google Rancher GitHub. Okay, let's navigate to releases and we can see that, okay, so I would say we don't want the release candidates. Okay, so this is just that. And it has a tag with the exact same name. Okay. So I think we can use that. And that will basically be the same as it was with K3s. So we are doing that. 2.7.6 sh dash.
Right now, here we go. Little coffee break.
Ah, get them. Okay, and again.
Now let's verify it was installed. We'll use the command rancher d or ranchered. Do that.
Oh. Oh, whoa, whoa. The requested URL returned an error. So did I give it incorrect version? Does it maybe prefer without the... Huh. Huh. Okay. Let me browse the GitHub page quickly. Does this script or this method not work for the newer releases? They don't seem to have that file in their GitHub release page. What the hell? Okay, so maybe let me try without. I mean, it can download the checksum, but there is no file in that format. Yeah, the checksum file exists. It's just that the rancher is not... They're not shipping binaries or releases the same way? What the hell? So their own method of installing this is not really working. I mean, if I try some possibly older version, Okay, I mean, now if I have to go back to 2.6, it might not support the 1.26 version of obviously it does not. God damn. Obviously it doesn't support that. Okay, but in this case, what can we do? Can I actually, does the 2.7 version has a different way of installing then? I mean, I would really like to install it. I would really like to go with the path of the least resistance, but it's sad that their own script turns out to not support, and basically nothing supports anything. If it's like older than half a year, then it's not supported. Why is this so bad? Why everything about Kubernetes has to be hard, convoluted, and complicated? What the hell is data JSON that is almost 6 megabytes? I mean, obviously their own script does not support anything that is basically new. Okay, so we have this. Please visit blah 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 directly and download the latest rancher installer.run. Do we have something .run? Okay, so at this point, just for the sake of getting things done, we can install the default version that was suggested. And instead, what I think I'll do is I will quickly reformat the master on the Kubernetes on the K3s, and I will use the version 1.21, the same that Chuck was using. Okay, so I will do just that, and for that I need to power off this little boy. Mm. And just a quick bathroom break. Be right back. Yeah, bug. Okay.
--help after this, and we should see something like Rancher Kubernetes Engine 2. Cool, we're solid. So it is installed, now all we have to do is enable the service and start it. So we'll use system ctl, that's our command. That's what we use to start, stop, restart services on Linux. We'll do enable rancher-server.service. Cool, it's enabled. I'm gonna do a up arrow and then change the enable to start. So we start the service. And boom. Now it could take a bit, so we can use this command to monitor what's going on. I'm just gonna paste this command in here, journal, ctl, blah blah. It's gonna look at the logs and see what's going on. So here we go. And it's doing stuff. Now as soon as you stop seeing messages that say, hey, we're waiting for stuff, waiting for our RBAC role to be created, as soon as that's done, you're solid. So quick coffee break. Now fun note, the reason it might be taking a bit is because it's also setting up a Kubernetes cluster on that device, or on that VM. So what it's doing is it sets up a Kubernetes cluster and it installs Rancher, or more specifically Rancher D, on top of that Kubernetes cluster. So if you're doing this, if you're installing Rancher and we have our Raspberry Pis, we end up having two separate clusters, which is pretty cool. Okay, mine is done. When you see something like this, node synced successfully, we're pretty good. So I'm gonna hit Control-C to stop that logging nonsense. Come on, stop it. There we go. Now one last thing we gotta do is reset our admin password with this command. Rancher reset-admin. Let's see what happens here. And boom, there we go. Gave us a couple things real quick.
Okay, so it needs a bit more time. Meanwhile, the VM is almost already done. Oh, thanks for the sub, Vault Soldier. Okay, the VM is almost done. Yeah. Okay. Ah, no problem. I really enjoyed making it. Oh, great. We're back in business. Did I install sudo? No, I haven't. Okay. Okay, and quick reboot for the IP tables to load. And maybe we'll actually provision something working today. I mean, up until now I have to say that the Chuck's tutorial is not bad. It's actually not that bad. I mean, the only issue I have with it is that he's not specifying the versions like with the install scripts, which is pretty mandatory if you want to follow it. You know, not even like a year later, but half a year or a month later in case any other version gets released. But that's probably not the Chuck's fault, but the whatever rancher gave him. Or maybe they did not specify that this is important. Okay, so we have that. And let me just skip back a bit. Okay, that was this command. We need to specify the version, so once again I would just have to look this up again because I have terrible memory when it comes to this stuff. And that version was... Okay, so Chuck had 1.21. So actually, I'm wondering how long ago has the Jesus fuck. How long ago has the 1.21 been dropped from the support? I mean, judging by how far do I have to click next on the releases page? Oh my god. Okay, and maybe let's just see the 2.5 version of Rancher we have installed. What's the most recent? What's the most recent Kubernetes it can support? Okay, so it's so it is not even certified for 121. Unless I am not fully versed with those compatibility matrices, but interesting. Okay, so can I just search for this version 1.21? Jesus, the GitHub cannot search the releases page with a dot. Oh my god, fuck you, GitHub. Why is this so bad? I mean, I know I can, clone and stuff and whatever, but right now I'm just judging it by the website alone. Okay, I think I have the version. Let's go with this one. Wonder if it will work, but let's hope it will.
Little bit of configuration. This will allow us to import the sucker into Rancher, which I'm gonna do because it's awesome and you should do it too. But even if you aren't, leaving that config in there is no big deal. I'm gonna hit enter and it's just gonna do its thing, man. Coffee break, I'm excited. Whew. It's almost done actually. I mean, coffee break, coffee sip, that's all we have time for. And that's it. It's done, it's done. Kubernetes or K3S is installed. Now, what do we do with that? I'll show you. Now again, I'll tell you this, installing Kubernetes normally is an entire task. It involves
I mean, I am jumping back and forth, but right now at least I have a grasp of what has to be done. So while the cluster gets bootstrapped, I can log into the Rancher dashboard. Okay, and now I have to... because I didn't have to do that before. Yeah, I want to create or manage multiple clusters, don't allow. Yes, save URL. Okay, so the Rancher is bootstrapped. And how is it going on the... Okay, the K3S is still installing. But I know we have to go with the custom cluster. I'll just name it the test cluster one for now. Okay, now we have to wait for the K3S to finish installing. Yeah, I was just checking out if that link still has anything under it. Yeah, man. Yeah, I mean, I actually have a use case for Kubernetes at my work, and I am pretty confident in just installing the Kubernetes, but most of the tutorials fall apart when you actually have to, you know, configure ingress and, you know, start anything else than, you know, nginx saying hello world. So this is also why I'm doing this and basically checking out all of the tutorials. And I'm checking out Chuck's because I think if I follow it, I will end up with, you know, sort of a minimal viable product, you know, minimal viable Kubernetes cluster. Because most of the tutorials basically tell you to install the Kubernetes engine, to install, to add worker nodes, but they don't tell you anything about, you know, how Kubernetes manages ingress, or anything like that. So basically you have the, you know, the workhorse. You basically have GitLab runner without GitLab, you know, properly configured, something like that. And I actually want to have something working. And I actually want to find tutorials that are actually, you know, worth checking out. Okay, K3S is done installing. I mean, also just having Docker and Portainer is nothing bad. I would say that if you do not have a solid use case for Kubernetes, then you're probably way better off without it. I mean, he is the biggest, I think, YouTuber that actually does tutorials. I mean, for me, you know, his whole mannerism and humor is kind of cringy, but I cannot, you know, deny that some of his vids have actual value. They actually can teach you something, and are not. I mean, from what I saw, some of those are clickbaits, right? Or basically useless, I would say. But with this Kubernetes tutorial, which is by the way sponsored, like Chuck mentions that he was sponsored for this, it actually has something interesting in it. Okay, so this is installed, and I think now I can use this. Yep.
Node clusters and all. It's crazy. But for K3s, this is like we're done. There's a tool we're going to use. It's called Cube Create or Manage Multiple Clusters Selected. Sometimes you only want to manage one cluster, and I get that, but we don't want that. We're going to be using the built-in cluster on Rancher and our Raspberry Pi cluster, which we'll import here in a moment. Anyways, it's already selected. I'm going to agree to all terms blindly like I always
so
do.
we basically
click on continue.
have
There's
done
my server
that.
URL. I'm good. I'll click on save, and we're in. So right here from the dashboard, we can see that we already have a...
And now it goddamn works. Okay, so this was the issue, like the improper versions of Rancher and Kubernetes cluster. So that was the issue. Okay. So now, after like 3 hours, we can follow the tutorial.
a Kubernetes cluster. It's the one that was pre-installed. Now we want to add our Raspberry Pi cluster. Let's do that right now. So as you might expect, to add a cluster, we're going to click on Add Cluster over here.
Okay, so
see that?
we've done
Ignore.
that.
Just try it again. Hit up arrow, enter. There you go. He ignored me the first time. You sometimes have to tell him twice. He's hard-headed. Anyways, now that's happening right now. It's going to join. But we have to do one thing on Rancher D to make sure things work the way we want them to. So getting back to Rancher, I'm going to click on Done. Notice my Hogwarts cluster is here, but it's in a pending status, and I have 0 nodes right now. That's not true. I've got 8 nodes. Let's prove them wrong. So there is one thing we have to do special for Raspberry Pi. Now, if you don't know this...
Okay, also, since this is working, I might add the worker nodes. Because I didn't want to do it until I was sure that... the Rancher combo works.
Already. Raspberry Pi is based on the ARM architecture. A lot of edge IoT devices are. So we have to make sure that when he pulls down the Rancher stuff, it's going to be the ARM stuff. ARM. So let's go do that. We're going to click on the little dots over here next to our cluster. We're going to click on View in API. Go ahead and click on that. Here we're going to change...
I mean, I'll let this play in the background, but I'm actually preparing the worker VMs.
Change one thing. Go ahead and click on Edit. And right here, the agent image override. We're going to tell him, hey, don't download the standard image. We want you to change it up. Again, same story as last time. I'm going to paste that in there from the commands below. This is a container image, and at the end it tells us it's going to be the ARM64 version of it. So we're going to scroll down to the bottom here, all the way down, click on Show Request. Looks good. Scroll down to the bottom once more and click on Send Request. You should get a 200 response saying, yup, that's good. And we're golden. So go ahead and click on Close. You can close this window. And, ha! It's already done. Yes! Ha! So here I have my cluster, Hogwarts. I've got my 8 nodes. Now, this is not a fun view. It's not a fun view. There's a different view we can go to. Let's go to Explorer. Go ahead and click on that. Explorer. Oh yeah, here.
Okay, so I haven't been here before, so let me pause for a second. Because I'm basically trying to provision 2 VMs at once. I mean, I had those VMs ready, like basically doing my 8th or 9th VM installation this day. Because if you have, if any of you actually, runs into a problem with Kubernetes, like the version is mismatched or something like that, it's better if you just, purge the whole thing and reinstall everything, right? So maybe right now it's not as crucial, because I'm not sure that we've had networking deployed. But if you have all of that, you know, gibberish installed, then it's basically better to just roll back the VM, start anew from a fresh one, instead of, you know, trying to debug what went wrong because I'm on my 7th uninstall and install of Kubernetes in a different version. I mean, I can just click explore. Okay, so this is actually something. I think I saw a more recent version of Rancher when I, you know, tried it some time ago. And I think that UI was worse. It showed me actually less info. Okay, I actually can't wait, you know, until I actually can follow it more. You mean separate virtual machines on your Proxmox, or do you have multiple Proxmox instances? I mean, sorry, I'm not showing the whole process, but the VM creation has been overdone on this stream. It's actually more tiresome now. Hey man, I'm also not a native. I'm actually Polish. Where are you from? Okay, so the first worker node is installed. And the second one is almost done. It starts with a letter R and ends with A. Okay, I get it. Okay, just a second and I'll be able to switch to console again. Okay, so for the first worker node, I think we can proceed. Oh yeah, it has disabled root login. Okay, so okay, so now we're at the worker one, and let me just remind the holy words of Chuck how to add the oh my god.
Moment, but first let's do this. We want to do everything as the root user. So to do that, we're here again, do a reboot. RE now is do.
Yeah, okay, this was
my
the
favorite thing is seeing link lights.
master
all
setup, and
do
this
this.
was the
At
nodes.
cat, and then where
Back to the master.
wherever this command token is, or I don't know why I said command token, just the token. There we go. This token right here, what we catted out, we're going to use that to register the rest of our nodes to the cluster, our worker nodes. So I'm going to add the next guy here. Let's do this. Open up a new command prompt, or terminal. SSH pi at my next guy, 61 raspberry, become the root. Now again, same story as before. I've got a command below in the description. So as you can see,
Yep. Curl SFL HTTPS get K3S IO. I don't think I have to specify the version now. I hope I don't have to. It would be pretty dumb if I had to.
Zasługujesz na muzykę bez przerw. Pozwól, że zaserwujemy Ci porcję ukochanej muzyki bez reklam w Spotify Premium. Lepiej nie zwlekać. 3 bezpłatne miesiące premium przelecą Ci zaraz obok nosa. Możesz zrezygnować w każdej chwili.
pretty much same story as last time. We're going to be downloading the script to install K3S, Kubernetes. But we're going to pass in some variables to make it become a worker node and register with our master. First thing is the token. There it is, like copying. It was the guy I just got my token from.
Just like that.
So I'm going to put that in here.
Okay, so this is the moment of truth. No. Okay, so you have to specify the version again. And that is a bit stupid. I cannot get that information from the master. Okay, so the first node is done. The second one is done installing just in time. Also, I just noticed it, but I think the chat replay on stream is broken. Oh well. Can't do anything about that now. Okay, so the second node. Okay, so the second node, second worker is rebooting. It should be available in a few seconds. And now we can just copy this, but change to worker 2. Okay, quit. Shit. No. No. Oh, sorry. Okay, I was with the shell, the born shell. Okay, apt install curl. Yeah, I'm on Windows, but I've pretty much tested the OBS on Wayland and it actually works quite well. I mean, I think like at this point, maybe half a year ago, they fixed it to the point where basically everything works, like, you know, the screen sharing from Google Meet, from Microsoft Teams, from stuff like that. Previously it didn't really quite work, but now it just works, right? Thanks for the sub, Antonio Rimbert. Okay, so this is... Oh my gosh. So it basically strips the command in half. Just fix it locally. No. Oh, damn. Quick hands. Okay, so it seems like we have both of those configured. kubectl get nodes. Cool, we have 2 worker nodes and we have them ready. So back to Chuck.
Nodes right now. That's not true. I've got 8 nodes. Let's prove them wrong. So there is one thing we have to do special for Raspberry Pi. Now, if you don't know this already, Raspberry Pi is based on the ARM architecture. A lot of edge IoT devices are. So we have to make sure that when he pulls down the Rancher stuff, it's going to be the ARM stuff. ARM. So let's go do that. We're going to click on the little dots over here next to our cluster. We're going to click on View in
Hey bruh, only anime tunes here.
API. Go ahead and click on that. Here, we're going to change one thing. Go ahead and click on Edit. And right here, the Agent Image Override. We're going to tell him, hey, don't download the... I've got 32 Explorer. Go ahead and click on that. Explorer. Oh yeah, here we go. This is how I like to view my Kubernetes clusters. Sure, I love command line, but I love visualizations too. If I scroll down a bit here, my cluster's a little nuts. I've got 32 cores. Oh, beautiful. I've got 53 gigs of available.
Okay, I only have 2 cores. And for okay, RAM I can believe, but the cores, I think this is like calculated based on some weird metric, or maybe he does not see. He does not see. How does this work? Cluster manager. Let's go back here. Let's go to global. Oh yes, I was clicking the local, not my test cluster. Yeah, this is looking more like it. Oof.
Available memory. Raspberry Pis. Isn't that crazy? Oh, I love it. Now, one thing I always change, no matter what, is I can change my my view here to dark mode. Oh, much better. Okay, now I feel better. Yes. Now, if you skipped ahead, we just installed Rancher to
Hi, Pajamas Metal Party. How's it going?
manage all of this. Going forward, you will not need a Rancher, but we will refer back to it to say, hey, this looks really cool, check it out. But now we will be using the command line and guide you through setting up a few cool things in your cluster. So looking back at our master, the guy calling all the shots, he's the boss. Let's do some stuff. Let's command the worker nodes. On our master, we're going to use the kubectl command to deploy our first application that we're going to have running across our Raspberry Pis. But how do we do that? Let me show you. We're going to start with something small, something simple. We're going to install this Nginx web server. And actually, I want quite a few. I want not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4. I want 6 Nginx web servers deployed across my cluster. And by the way, you can do the same thing even if you only have one Raspberry Pi. It'll just throw 6 Nginx web servers onto it. And you'll be fine, don't worry. So we need to tell the master, hey master, I want 6 of these guys right now. Get to work. And we do that by defining a manifest file. The manifest file is just a file that describes what we want. Listen here, master. I want 6 servers. Here's their name and all the other stuff about them. That's what we're going to do. So let me show you what it looks like. Actually, hold on real quick. I want to walk through this. I'm getting ahead of myself, getting too excited. So we'll describe what we want inside a manifest file. It's going to be in the YAML format, .yaml. YAML ain't markup language. That's really what it stands for. And we'll use the kubectl tool to deploy our manifest file. It will actually be called a deployment. So it might look like this. kubectl apply -f and then our file, which could be cool stuff .yaml. Anyways, I've already got a YAML file defining these guys right now. Let's go take a look. You can download that at the link below as well. Anyways, here's my YAML file. Now, I'm not going to go too into detail about what this is.
Okay, so I'm not going to manually write it down. I'll just look up his materials. Oh my god, it's so hard to actually find that link with the materials. Okay, no, I think I have it. I have to sign in to Chuck's page. No man, Chuck, don't be like this.
Isn't how to build one, because it's a lot. But essentially, here's what's happening. The kind of file this is, we're defining it right here. It's a deployment, meaning we're deploying some apps, some services. Here's the name of that deployment, Nginx. And then we just have stuff about it, like, hey, how many of these do you want? This is creating what's called a replica set. No, I don't want just 2. Come on, let's change that. I want 6. And then there's some other stuff that you can change if you want to, like here's a label. It's saying here's the key, app, the value, Nginx. This is going to be important when we talk about load balancing. So kind of just put a pin in that.
Huh. Okay, so if you wanted to follow that tutorial in 2023, then sorry, but fuck you. The page does not exist anymore. Okay, so Chuck basically has his very own Udemy. Well, there's nothing wrong with that. I only wanted for this little thing to work so I do not have to write it down manually.
And then down here, we're defining what we want
And I'm not sure I even can do it manually because he's not scrolling the whole file.
to deploy. Notice it says containers. Which containers do you want to deploy? Here, we're deploying an Nginx container. Now, if this is your first time ever dealing with containers, this might be a bit foreign to you. The way we typically deploy containers is by downloading them from a registry. The most popular one we see all the time, and the one I use all the time, is hub.docker.com. So here in the image field, when I say Nginx :stable, it's actually going out to hub.docker.com and saying, hey, you got a container named this? And it'll say, yup, here it is. And it pulls it down. And then some more fun stuff like what port are we using? Port 80. We even have down here where we're gonna monitor the containers. It'll actually monitor the HTTP port and say, hey, are you alive? Are you okay? Are you up? Are you healthy? And if it's not, we're killing you. For real, that's what's gonna happen. Anyways, what we're gonna do is we're gonna copy this file. Control A, Control C. Gonna jump into my master here, and I'm gonna create a file. I'm gonna do nano. I'll name it harrypotter.yaml, hit enter, and then I'll paste the contents of that file I just made. Bam. Looks good?
Okay, so unfortunately it seems like I have to do this by hand. So I'll just make some directory, scripts. Jesus, I'm retarded. Okay, so API version. Okay, so let's also go with 6 replicas. Selector, match labels. Okay, now let's...
Yeah.
Jesus.
So Control X. Do nano.
Let's slow it down a bit.
I'll name it Harry Potter .yaml. Hit enter, and then I'll paste the contents of the file I just made. Bam. Looks good. Yeah. Paste the contents of the file I just made. Bam.
Okay. I mean, I hate YAML. I mean, if devil invented one thing, I bet this was it.
Paste the contents of the file I just made. Bam.
So, okay, so we should have it now. Okay, so let's go back to the normal playback speed.
Bam. Looks good? Yeah. So Control X, Y, enter. If I hit LS, there is my YAML file, my manifest. Now let's apply it.
Fav anime. Code Geass.
Let's let's make it happen. Now, just buckle your seatbelts here. We're about to deploy some apps
And Spice and Wolf.
on this cluster. It's so cool. Here we go. kubectl, kubectl, apply -f, and then the file name, harrypotter.yaml. As I hit enter, magic is about to happen. I did not intend for that to be the thing. Anyways, here we go. Boom. Done. So cool. Okay, so what's happening right now? Let's find out. Let's do kubectl get pods. What? I'll explain that here in a moment. Get pods. Ooh, look at that. Container creating. Let's do it again. Ooh, we got a few running already. Let's do it again. They're almost all ready. And yes, just like that, we created containers. We created apps on our cluster. Yes. How cool is that? Now, real quick, you might be wondering what the junk is a pod. We just got some pods. I thought we were dealing with containers. What is that? I'll explain. It's a thing. When you think about Kubernetes and you hear the word pod, I want your brain to go pod containers, because that's essentially what we're dealing with here. When I deploy a container in Kubernetes, it's going to be nestled inside what they call a pod, a little space pod, a little pea pod. Just another layer, another shell around it. But simply, that's what it is. Pod container. Just think about that. Now, when we applied that manifest, that deployment, boom.
I'm actually curious, like, how actually, a pod differs from a namespace. Because I haven't dwelled too much into it, but for me, pod sounded like namespace. And then I found out that namespaces are entirely different thing.
Shasha! It got deployed out to my Raspberry Pis. Let's take a look. If I get back to my master here, over here on the left are the names of my pods. But I want to see which Raspberry Pi they're on, which I can see that. Let me just try it out. This command, kubectl get pods, if I do -o and type in, oh, not 0, -o and then wide, it'll give me some more information. Like, dude, here's where we are. Over here, it tells me which node they are on. Raspberry 5, Raspberry 3, Raspberry 2, Raspberry 6, and there's 2 on Raspberry 4. How cool is that? Now I gotta show you.
Okay, one thing that is, I would say, not cool about this default behavior is that the master also took some workload by default. And I wonder which role is responsible for that. But by default, I would rather not have the master node burdened with tasks. But that's like a minor complaint at this point.
Show you this. Let me show you what it looks like in Rancher, because it will reflect it. Over here on the left, I have my deployments. I'll go ahead and jump in there. And there it is, the one we just deployed. If I click on...
Okay, so also let's see that again. At my Rancher. Workload.
that, it'll show me all the pods I just created, what nodes they're on. I can jump into my pods view over here on the left. There's my pods. Now, I know you're probably already thinking this. Cool, we deployed a website to our cluster. Maybe to your one Raspberry Pi, which is your cluster. But how do I get to that website? That's a great question.
You are right. They don't, but we are not deploying the full-blown Kubernetes. We are deploying the K3s, and it seems to come with some settings predetermined, even though you do not have explicitly set, let's say, worker role, neither on master nor on the workers. It seems to know that, basically everything within the cluster is a worker.
It's actually pretty complex. I'm not gonna lie. Kubernetes networking is not for the light of heart. Now, I'm gonna walk you through how to do this. You're welcome, because I hit my head against the wall. Bang.
By the way, this is the part where basically every other tutorial stops, and here we are halfway, and this is the part I'm the most interested in.
My head against the wall to figure this out for a while. It was largely thanks to the good folks at Boxboat and Suze, the owner of Rancher, that I can figure this out. But anyways, let me show you. Yeah, we deployed a web server to Kubernetes, and it does live on these Raspberry Pis. But that doesn't mean you can get to them. So If we look back at our master node, I can see they do have some IP addresses, 1042.4.4, what have you. Now this subnet is not on my real network. You saw that my subnet was 10.7.1. 10.42 is not accessible to me. This is what's called a cluster IP. It's only specific to the Kubernetes cluster. Only stuff within the Kubernetes cluster can reach it. Anything outside of it, which is me, my computer, cannot reach it. That's by default. So that's the first thing that you might encounter that might not seem very intuitive when you deploy an app in Kubernetes, is it won't expose itself to you. That was weird. Anyways, to make sure that your app is accessible, we have to do something. There's actually a number of things we can do, but the simplest thing we can do is create something called a node port. I'll explain. Now it's time to introduce a new concept. We have pods. These are pods, right? Pods, which are containers, remember? In Kubernetes, we also have a thing called services. For our purpose, we want to use a service to expose our apps. This service, again, I just mentioned it, will be a node port. And here's what we're gonna do. This Nginx web server we know uses port 80, as most websites do, or they should use 443, but this guy's using port 80. So what we'll do is this. We'll say on each node, we're gonna open up a hole, open up some access, a little portal here. We'll say if you wanna get to port 80 on this web server, you're gonna have to access port 3111 on this node to get to it. Kind of like a port forward. That's what we're gonna do for each node. Now we're not gonna log into each node and make that happen. It's gonna be automatic once we deploy that one service. But that's the simplest way we can expose and access our website. So let me
Okay, one more time.
open up some access, a little portal here. We'll say if you want to get to port 80 on this web server, you're gonna have to access port 3111 on this node to get to it. Kind of like a port forward. That's what we're gonna do for each node. Now we're not gonna log into each node and make that happen. It's gonna be automatic once we deploy that one service. But that's the simplest way we can expose and access our website. So let me try it real quick, or let's try it real quick. Now to deploy a service in Kubernetes, what do you think we need? I'll give you a hint, it's just like deploying our pods. If you guessed manifest, you get a gold star, you get a sticker, whatever it is. We need to define another manifest describing what we want to do with our service, which we want to do all of this right here. And we'll use that same apply command, kubectl apply that manifest. Now here's an example manifest right here. You can use the same one I'm using here. This one's, obviously not as big.
Okay. And I sadly have to write it down manually.
Big, bit slimmed down. This time our kind is not a deployment, we're defining a service. Here's our name, we're naming it, and then here's our type. It's a node port. And then here's the important part right here, the selector. Which app in our Kubernetes cluster will this node port apply to?
By the way, maybe let me try and reload the stream overlay, because well, never mind.
Now we saw in our deployment that we did have this in here. We applied the label app with the key, or I'm sorry, the value Nginx. So when we have this here as the selector on this service, it's going to look at any app we have out there, any pod, with the label app Nginx, which should be those 6 containers that we created. And then here's the rule here. For port, the service will listen on port 80. The target port, which will be the port that the app has exposed, so Nginx, that container we created, what port is it listening on? It's 80. So the target port will be 80. Now it says web right here because we actually define that port over here in the deployment. Looking back at that, down here, we have under containers, we defined a container port and we named it web. So that's what that app is referencing, or that service is referencing.
I mean, this whole circles of defining names, I mean, for basic stuff like TCP port is, I imagine that reading some more complicated deployment manifest is like, you know, reading a text that slowly makes you go mad.
And then we're telling it what node port we want to use. The port that is going to be exposed on our individual Raspberry Pis that we can access port 80 on. So here it's going to be 3001. I'm going to change it real quick. 31111. And now all we got to do is
Chuck, please don't do that. Please just go with standard, like, you know, 3080, you know, stuff like that.
deploy it. So I'm going to copy all this mess here. Go back into our master and do the same thing we did before. Create a new file. I'll just say Harry Potter _nodeport.yaml. Paste all that good stuff in there. Control X, Y, enter, and then let's deploy it. kubectl apply -f Harry Potter _nodeport. Here we go. And it is applied. Now how do we know? Because when we do kubectl,
Okay, sorry, I actually, you know, just for the sake of... I might apply this, but it's not in the valid range. Okay, so this is an important info. So he wants to have from 30 to 32 thousandths. Okay, we can do just that. So let's go with 30 thousandths, 80. Let's change the name to Nginx node port. Yeah. Okay.
get pods, it shows us pods. What about services? Can we see those too? Yes. If we do kubectl get services, it'll show us. Now to test this out, we'll pick one of our Raspberry Pis here. Pick a number, any number. I'm gonna pick, let's say, number 3, which I think his IP address is .62. Let's try it out. Gonna open up a new tab, gonna navigate to 10.7.1.6.
Okay, so like he said, we should be able now to just visit this and see a default Qualcomm page from the Nginx. So let's go here, 30,080. Son of a gun. This is the first tutorial that actually left me with something actually working. I mean, not counting all the hours I wasted today on just, you know, getting the versions right, but
62, and then it's going to be port 31111. Now, if this works, we're going to go to an Nginx default page. Fingers crossed. Here we go. Yes, we did it. Now, it may not feel like a lot, but if you followed along with this, that's a lot of stuff, man. That's intense. Not only did we install and get Kubernetes up and running, but then we had to learn a bit about the networking of Kubernetes, and then we exposed a port using a service called NodePort. Now, I know it's a lot, so you may want to take a moment, coffee break, digest that a bit. We're going to keep on moving, though, because we're about to move towards load balancing. We can load balance stuff. Now, can I tell you something? We've already been load balancing. Yes, it's kind of hard to see, but with our node ports, it auto-magically load balances for us. Now sure, yeah, I'm hitting one node in my cluster, but when it hits that one node, Kubernetes will auto-magically load balance between all the nodes that have that app installed, that pod. That makes load balancing on this pretty freaking easy, right? It's kind of cool, but it is kind of hard to see and appreciate what's happening, right? So let's try this. I have another app we can try out that'll actually show us visually load balancing when we deploy it. So let's deploy one more deployment. Let's try it out. Here is the manifest for our deployment. Again, link in the description. And this is actually from Rancher. It's a fun app that'll visualize load balancing, which is what we want to see. So let's do that. Now,
okay, so I have to, again, I mean, I hope I can just modify the previous deployment. Copy and Nginx. Let's just modify this. Yeah, I think I know that what this will be. Purple.
Same story as before. Our kind is deployment. For replicas, we're doing 2, you know, actually, I want to do more. Let's go crazy. I want to change it from 2 to 50. Yes, I want to deploy 50, which I'm really excited about. Let's try it out. Some more key things. We have our selector down here, the key app, the value hello world.
I mean, he might go with 50, but I think I'll stick to 6 to actually try and have 2 per node.
And then of course we have our container image. Now this app, unlike Nginx, is not running on port 80, it's going to be running on port 8080. And we're exposing that right here, we're naming it web, and that's pretty much all we care about. Yes, okay.
Okay, sorry, skip. I mean,
Unlike Nginx is not running on port 80, it's going to be running on port 8080. And we're exposing that right here, we're naming it web, and that's pretty much all we...
Okay, the one last missing piece. The one piece, if you'd like. HTTP get port web path this. Okay.
We care about. Yes, okay. So let's go ahead and copy that stuff, and we're going to go into our master, and let's create another file. Nano, I'll name it hello world. Hello world.yaml. We'll paste that magic in there. Yes. Control X, hit Y to say yep, I want to save it, hit enter, and we're good. Now, time to deploy it. Same story as before. kubectl, apply, -f, and the name of our file, hello world.yaml. Now this is going to be pretty wicked because we're deploying 50 containers all at once. Whew, need some coffee for this before we do it. And go. Is it, yeah, yeah? Okay, it's doing it. So real quick, I want to see all these things going. So I want to do kubectl get pods. It's gonna be a lot. Oh, look at all these. That's crazy. Let's do it again. It's going pretty freaking fast, dude. Look at all that. Wow. So here's where we are. Same story as before. We deployed our pods, our containers, with our Hello World app. And we deployed a lot of them. A ridiculous amount of them. Am I gonna sit here and make 50? I don't know. And those are distributed across our cluster, across our Raspberry Pis, but again, we have the problem of we can't reach them. They do have IP addresses, but they're cluster specific. In fact, let's go take a look at that. Let me finish deploying my apps to all my stuff here. It's taking forever. And actually, I want to visualize that in Rancher because it's so pretty. So I'll navigate back over to deployments here in Rancher, and I'll look at my Hello World app here. There she is. Goodness gracious, that's a lot of pods. And look at the distribution here. Going across all my Raspberry Pis. I want to jump to pods real quick so I can see their IP addresses. So that's their IPs, but again, we can't access those IP addresses. That's not in my home network. That's Kubernetes specific. So how do we fix that? Well, another service, another node port. So let's throw in another service here. I know things are getting messy. I'm sorry. Let's go ahead and punch another wall through our Raspberry Pis here. The port again will be port 8080. Gosh, I did not draw that well. And let's have that go to the node port, I don't know, let's just make one up. 31117. So punch a wall through all our nodes here. 8080, 8080. Now we could, as before, create a YAML file, a manifest, and deploy it via CLI. But, you know, I want to show you how cool Rancher is. We can easily do it in a GUI, and it goes pretty quick. So you can do either or. If you didn't deploy Rancher, then you're stuck with the command line. Poor sucker. No, that's fine. And if you want to practice with command line, keep going. But let's do Rancher real quick. This is going to be fun. So back here at the Rancher dashboard, we're going to scroll down to Services on the left. Go ahead and click on that. And from here, we're going to click on Create New.
Sorry, this stream overlay is actually bothering me. I just wanted to one single fix. Yeah, refresh cache. Oh, okay, yeah. Okay, it's working.
Right here. And our kind, any guesses? It's gonna be a node port. So let's go ahead and select that. And this is gonna be wicked simple. Check this out. First I'll name it, doesn't have to be.
Okay, sorry, let me go back a bit.
Right here. And our kind, any guesses? It's gonna be a node port. So let's go ahead and select that. And this is gonna be wicked simple. Check this out. First I'll name it, doesn't have to be anything special, I'll just say hello node, I don't know. And then my service ports. the listening port, instead of port 80, this will be port 8080. That's what the container's like. Yep. Whoa. That's what I'm listening for right now. Target port will also.
Okay, so he's now doing it from the rancher level. Okay. Okay. Once again, for the slow ones, create, I guess. So what can we create? We can create cluster IP. We can have external name. We can have headless. We can have load balancer. And we can have a node port. Okay.
It's going to be a node port. So let's go ahead and select that. And this is going to be wicked simple. Check this out. First, I'll name it. Doesn't have to be anything special. I'll just say hello node. I don't know. And then my service ports. The listening port, instead of port 80, this will be port 8080. That's what the container's like. Yep. Whoa. That's what I'm listening for right now. Target port will also be port 8080. And then our node port, which we said would be 31117. It's the port we're going to hit when we try to access this app. Now, we're nearly done, but we have to do our selectors. We have to tell this node port, this service, which apps to use. So
did I not go too far? Okay.
let's say what we configured. The key was again app. And the value was hello, I think it was dash world.
Okay, so this is actually super important, I would say, and he's going really fast through it.
See. Yes, and what did you see this? How cool is this? This is why using a GUI sometimes is kind of nice, even though I love command line. Right here, it auto showed us what pods are matching. Love that. So, all we got to do now is just click create, and
okay, so yes, but what else is here? Okay, labels, annotations, selectors, session affinity, IP addresses, and service ports. Listening port, target port, and node port. Okay. Oh yeah, we are outside of the range. I mean, this range is weird, but let it be as it wants to be.
power of rancher sucker. That was so cool. So now let's visualize load balancing. We're gonna pick one of our nodes here. I'll just pick one at random again. Let's do 10.7.1.63. And then our port will be 31117. Y'all ready for this? Here we go. Oh, yes. How cool is this? Oh, do you see what's happening here? It is sending a request, load balancing across all my nodes, and it's hitting all the individual pods. Notice each one of these cows that are popping up are the labels of my pods. And here it is right there. It says current backend. How cool is that? So again, what this is demonstrating is that when we expose our deployment or our pods, draw pods here, just name them P. When we expose those with a service, a node port, NP, no matter which Raspberry Pi we hit, which node we hit through that exposed node port, which again was 31117, when we hit that, it is going to auto-magically load balance between all the pods in our deployment. Now,
I wonder how it works. I mean, I guess, let's say you are downloading a gigabyte of a file, and I hit a certain backend. Is the response... Like, let's say initially I hit the node 1 with my request, with my IP, but the response comes from worker node 2. Does the worker node 2 first send the big file, the gig of a file, to the worker 1, and then only then worker 1 sends me the actual file back? I guess it has to work this way.
I love all these cows lighting up. I want to make this my screensaver. Now, I do want to show you one more thing. It's going to add a little bit more complexity to this, but it's cool. Trust me, watch this. It's something called an ingress. It's another thing we can use in Kubernetes, and what it allows us.
I mean, I really like that he's actually going example by example in small steps, showing you that it works, right? It's not like big jumps. And I think this is really important to actually show it to people this way.
To do is, let's say for example we have a website or a DNS name, ilovecows.com. When someone hits this website, I want ilovecows.com to go to my hello world application. So let's make ilovecows.com happen. Now we're gonna do this in Rancher because Rancher is fun and it's easy to see things. Now if you don't have Rancher, that's cool. I'll show you the YAML here in a second. Actually, Rancher will show you the YAML after we finish it. So here we go. We're gonna go over here down to under service discovery, ingresses. Ingresses. Right now we don't have anything going on, so I'm going to select that. And we'll
Okay, sorry. Service discovery ingresses. Okay.
click on create at the top right. Now, again, kind of familiar. It's going to be pretty basic, pretty easy. First, we'll name it. Doesn't matter what we name it. Cows. And then our rules. The request host will be ilovecows.com. And then our path, it's just going to be the root URL. So ilovecows.com, we'll just put a / to make sure that's what it's looking for. Our target service will be hello node, our node that we created for our hello world demo, and then the port is already there. Just select it right now and click on save. Now the only thing we have to make sure of is that when we go to ilovecows.com, the DNS name, that it is pointing to one of our nodes here, one of our Raspberry Pis. Now if you have a DNS server in your house, go ahead and do that. I do, but I will show you how to do it locally on your machine. All we have to do here on Windows is edit the host file. So I'll open up.
No, yeah, screw me, but yeah. I have to launch that as an administrator. Yeah, I knew what he wants to do, but I kind of switched off my brain and I thought I am Linux. But in Windows this is a bit more complicated. Thanks for the sub, Jeff. Jeff Heuler, sorry. Okay, this is happening off stream, but I'm navigating to the system32. I basically know what Chuck wants to do. Drivers, etc. Hosts. Okay, and we can
Notepad as an administrator, that is important, and then go to File and Open. The host file is located at Windows, System32, drivers, etc., and then it's called hosts, right there. Bam. I'll scroll all the way to the bottom here, underneath all my stuff, and just on an open line, add your IP address. I'll just do 10.7.1. Let's just do 64. And then the DNS. The domain name, ilovecows.com. Gonna hit Control S to save that, and then I'll open up a command prompt just to verify it. So ping ilovecows.com. Boom, it is going to the right place.
Okay, so also let's verify. Ping for me is just cows.com. Cool, it works.
Awesome. Moment of truth. Let's test this. ilovecows.com. That's all we have to type in. No port specification, just this. Yes. Look at that. That's so freaking.
Okay, I have to say, now I understand Kubernetes and how the networking works and how the data is processed a bit more.
Cool. So ingresses are cool. If you don't have the beauty of Rancher, you can always do it through the typical deployment of kubectl apply. If you want to see what that looks like, let me jump in here, go to edit YAML on this guy. And here's the YAML. Now this is a bit messy because it has some extra stuff like specifying my nodes, so I will put a clean version of the YAML in the description below. But that is cool, right? Like instead of having to do, 10.7.1.63, specifying port 3.1.1.1.7, just go to ilovecows.com. Makes it really stupid easy. Whew, isn't that crazy, dude? So I'm hoping that by walking through this and showing you this, you have, first of all, a deep respect for Kubernetes because it's crazy. And two, I'm hoping to give you the tools to run with this. This is basic stuff. right? It is. But I'm hoping I'm giving you the tools to step forward and do some cool stuff with it. At least lab it up. Just get your hands-on practice with it and then go from there, man. You never know. Now, I don't want to make this video too long, but I know I already did that. But I want to show you one more thing. I want to show you how to like do practical things on your Raspberry Pi cluster, right? So far we've been doing demo apps, right? Not too terribly exciting, except for learning. But what do you say we deploy a Minecraft server to this and use a load balancer with our Minecraft server? Let's try it out. Now, first of all, massive shout out to Jeff Geerling. Is it Geerling or Geerling? Geerling, okay. Jeff Geerling, he has a great YouTube channel and blog I'm looking at right now. He did a Turing Pi, which is like this. You can watch the video. But I, like him, had some trouble finding apps I could put on my Raspberry Pi because it is ARM64 architecture, and not all containers out there in the wild can work on this. So as you try to deploy apps in your cluster here, you may like try to deploy Ubuntu or CentOS or something simple as that, and it will fail. That's because it's not built for ARM64 architecture.
Yeah, just a heads up, Chuck is deploying on the Raspberry Pi Center ARM architecture, and I am just deploying on the usual traditional VMs. x86.
So what is, Chuck? Well, there are some things out there. And again, a huge shout out to Jeff Geerling for offering some guides on this. And one I used, and I'm going to use continually, is Minecraft. Now, to add to your confusion, to add to the complexity, installing things in Kubernetes, there are options. Like everything in IT, everything in life. The one we've been using is the main way, which is using the tool kubectl. And I'll say the main way for me. kubectl. Now that, I'm gonna rewrite that, that's terrible. And we define manifest and we deploy it with the apply command. Another way to deploy apps on Kubernetes is with what's called Helm. Helm is a tool that will use something called a Helm chart. This is crazy stuff, man. And this Helm chart is very similar to a manifest. It describes what you want to install. It's just a different way to do it. A lot of people prefer it. I'm still learning more about it, but it does the same job a manifest does. Now I'm telling you that right now because we're going to deploy.
I've heard a very cool description of Helm, that this is basically like a package manager for a traditional Linux, right? So it's like an apt for Debian or DNF or CentOS.
Deploy Minecraft using a Helm chart. Now I'm going to skip the command line right now. Instead, I'm going to use Rancher to install our Helm chart.
I mean, right now I'm not going to deploy the Minecraft server, but I just want to watch this to the end and just see what this will encompass.
I want to show you the power of Rancher. So here we go. Back at my Rancher dashboard. Oh, look at it. It's so pretty. Oh my goodness. Love it. First place I'm going to go is up here to Cluster Explorer. I'm going to click on Apps and Marketplace. It's kind of like an app store. It'll use Helm chart to deploy apps. Now again, because it's a Raspberry Pi and it's on ARM64, a lot of these won't work. But we're going to add a few repositories here. So I'm going to click on Chart Repositories. And I'm going to click on Create to add a new one. I'll name it Cool Stuff, paste my URL right here, and then click on Create. Bam, it's already active. Okay, now we're going to go to Charts up here at the top, left. Scroll down a bit, and I should see Minecraft right here, Minecraft server. We're about to install a Minecraft server on our Raspberry Pi cluster. Anyways, let's do this. Click on Minecraft server. I'm going to name this deployment here. I'm going to name it Minecraft. And there's one thing we have to change here. If I click on Values, YAML, one thing you always have to change when you deploy any kind of Minecraft server is accepting the EULA right here. EULA is set to false, so we're just going to change that to a big old true. We accept everything, and that's pretty much it. I'm going to click on Install, and it's doing it for me. So we've been in the command line most of the time deploying things. Here I'm using Rancher, a GUI, to install stuff for me. We can install deployments, kubectl, and we're using Helm right now. And what's cool is it actually launches kubectl for you, kubectl, and shows you the status. And by the way, if you haven't noticed up here, we have the kubectl shell. You can access it anytime through the Rancher UI. All right, and mine is done. Now we're gonna quickly expose Minecraft, because right now it's a pod, and by default it's not exposed. We gotta expose it a little bit so we can play Minecraft. So anyways, we're gonna do it all right here in the Rancher UI. Now because we only installed one Minecraft pod, like if I go to my pods here, I search for Minecraft. There it is right there. It's installed on a Raspberry 5, which is, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This guy right here, he's running Minecraft. Good job, guy. We need to open up a node port to him. So real quick, let's look at our pod here. We can also see the deployment that the Helm chart deployed. So if I go up to deployments, there it is right there, Minecraft. What I want to do real quick is actually click on the little dots over here and click on Edit Config. Yeah, you can edit things. Now, notice it does tell me that the Helm chart or the Helm app is managing this. So any changes I make here might be overwritten. No big deal. I scroll.
I mean, for the full experience, I would say I'm not saying that this tutorial needs this, because I would say it's covering quite a lot already, but you still need persistent storage, because you need to remember that at this point, I don't think any of those containers has persistent storage. If you kill it or reboot it, it might just, lose everything.
Hold on here, I can see a lot of things I can change, but what I'm looking for are, first of all, what port does it need to be targeted on? 25565, okay, remember that. Now let's check out the labels and annotations. Here we go, app and Minecraft. We'll use that to select the app. So let's go create a simple node port, because we only have one pod open, right? So I'll go to Services, click on Create, and we want a node port. I'll call this MC node port. So the listening port is going to be 25565. Target port 25565, and the node port we'll say is 31117. This will be the actual port we use when we try to connect to the server via Minecraft. All right, and then we need our selectors. We're looking at app, Minecraft. Ah, I gotta spell things right. Minecraft. And check this out, it automatically tells me if I'm matching any pods. Man, I have a lot of pods. Anyways, we'll create this node port, click on create, done. Simple as that, right? Now let's test Minecraft. Let's play. All right, Minecraft launch. Let's go to multiplayer. Let's add a server. I'll name this Kubernetes. Please work. 10.7.1.62 and port 31117. Okay, fingers crossed. Here we go. Find it, please. Yes! Yes! There it is! Okay, let's connect. Join server. Boom. Wait, where am I? Okay, cool. I am playing Minecraft on a Raspberry Pi cluster. It doesn't get cooler than this, guys. We've peaked. We've peaked on this channel. This is the best. I don't play Minecraft, but I'll play it on a Raspberry Pi cluster. Yeah. Can you believe it's running off this cluster right here? Like, that's so freaking cool. Anyways, now we just scratched the surface on Kubernetes. All right, I'm done. And it's amazing. The fact that we can deploy something like that on a Raspberry Pi cluster, what the heck? How cool is that? Now, many of you may be thinking, okay, Chuck, this is cool, but why? Why do this? First of all, just bragging rights. Having something like this in your house, this is a work of art. Are you kidding me? Again, if you want to do something like this, I got links below. Using those links will help me because they are
in current day, this is more than thousands of dollars on your desk. So
affiliate links. Anyways, also the other big reason is that it does teach you a ton. I can't tell you how much I learned, how much I failed through the process of getting this set up. Projects like this teach you. That's the reason I show you guys this stuff. Yeah, it's fun. Yeah, it's nerdy. But in the long run, it's teaching you stuff that you can use, real skills you can take with you into the workplace, that you can add to your resume. I mean, maybe not put on your resume, created a Raspberry Pi cluster in my house running Kubernetes. Actually, you know what? Add that to your resume. That's pretty freaking cool. Actually, run your resume website off your cluster. Come on. And let me know if you want me to continue this series, like how to maybe expose this to the internet and do all kinds of, like, let me know about that. Now, also a massive shout out to the sponsors of this video, Rancher, which is owned by SUSE Linux. Ever heard of them? Of course they're amazing. They created K3S, so we installed on here. They created Rancher that we used to deploy stuff and monitor our dashboard, monitor our deployments. They're wicked awesome, and they're not just used by people like me deploying Raspberry Pis in their house. They're used by huge enterprises managing a crazy amount of clusters. They even have this thing called Fleet, which is all about managing ridiculous amounts of clusters. So what's cool is as you play with Rancher right now in your house, you're learning a skill that you can take with you into the enterprise. And of course, a massive shout out to the other sponsor, Boxboat, who without them, I wouldn't know what the junk I'm doing. Boxboat's a company that helps people with stuff like this. Rancher, Kubernetes, cloud native stuff. Because I don't know if you know this stuff's kind of hard. Like, it's really hard. Like, I could not have done this without the help of the Boxboat engineers I was in contact with. Like, they held my hand a bit. It was hard. And that's a perfect demonstration of why you should use them if you ever need to deploy containers or build up your cloud native environment. I'm a huge fan, so if you want to check out either of them, Rancher or Boxboat, check it out, link below. I also interviewed Caleb from Boxboat and Mark Abrams from SUSE, and we just chatted about stuff, all this cool stuff we've been doing in this video. So if you want to learn more, go deeper, I had those interviews, link below. And yeah, that's, this was a lot. I started this video earlier in the morning today, and now it's like 8 o'clock. So this has been fun. Let me know what you think of the video in the comments below. Let me know if you were able to do this. Let me know if is your cluster bigger than mine? If it is, I'm gonna have to buy some more Raspberry Pis. And don't forget to enter the contest to win one of these guys. Link below. And yeah, that's about it. I'll catch you guys next time.
Well, okay. So thank you, Chuck. I would say go and like that guy's channel, but he's one of the biggest, so I bet you already are. So yeah, it actually gave us something working. I would say it was working at the time. Currently, it still holds up, but it needs some tweaking. And sadly, you cannot apply this tutorial out of the box if you want to use the latest versions of either Rancher or Kubernetes. And while with Kubernetes, this is like, you know, I would say normal thing that you don't want to be on the edge, but the Rancher deployment basically changed. I haven't dwelled into that much, but it's you cannot deploy a newer version of Rancher using the method shown in this tutorial. I think I might just do a quick main channel video, you know, about this tutorial. I'm not sure that I want to do it only on this tutorial. Maybe I'll check out some more. But yeah, that's the plan. Okay, so for me it's past 11 p.m, so I think I'll peace out for today. Thank you to everyone who's been with me today, and I hope I'll see you next time. Cheers.